No one expected that the most emotional moment of BTS's Jin international tour would explode in Newark. The once underrated city on the glittering entertainment map of the world suddenly became the center of global attention when thousands of soldiers filled the Prudential Center, creating a wave of love so massive that even security personnel were overwhelmed. The question is, how can one city beat the welcome in Los Angeles, Dallas, even Amsterdam? This phenomenon is not just about the number of fans. Newark showed something more substantial, a collective dedication that reflected the Army's sense of belonging to the genie. Many come not only from surrounding cities, but even from other states. They camped early in the morning, carried banners bearing personalized messages for the genie, and wore limited edition merchandise specially printed for Newark. This is not just a concert. It is an explicit, unequivocal declaration of love that no one can ignore. Jin is not only welcomed, he is invaded by love. Before he even got out of the vehicle that took him to the venue, the sound of the astronauts singing echoed loudly from outside the venue. Dozens of cameras captured the cries of fans. Some even fainted from unbearable hysteria. And when the genie finally went on stage, it was not screams that were heard for the first time, but silence. A collective silence that can only arise from deep respect and longing. Newark, that night, was more than just a concert venue. It turns into a sacred place for feelings that have been suppressed for more than 2 years, a longing that takes root, grows, and finally explodes in an unexpected way. There is no better word to describe the atmosphere than electrifying. Jin's every move, every little smile, even every second he was silent on stage, was greeted with an almost unreasonable intensity of emotion. Interestingly, Jin's response that night was also unusual. He seemed to be more silent, staring longer at the crowd, as if trying to understand how such a great love could be directed at him. He paused as he delivered the opening message. His voice trembled, and for a moment, the stage seemed at a loss for words. "Newark," he said, "you're even crazier than I imagined, but you also make me feel more loved than ever." Those words are not mere stage pleasantries. An internal source from the production staff mentioned that Jin had requested that the night's show be rebroadcast in a special documentary format, just to record how the interaction between him and the fans reached an unprecedented culmination point. Even compared to the closing night of his concert in Los Angeles, the emotional intensity in Newark was judged to be more authentic, more raw, and more unforgettable. There are also social and psychological dimensions that arise from this event. Newark is a city with a long history of struggle and transformation. In many ways, Jin, who returned from his military service with a new image, more mature, and more personal, is a mirror of the city's struggles. The Army in Newark didn't just welcome Jin as a K-pop idol. They welcomed him as a representation of the hope, growth, and sincerity they craved in an increasingly impersonal world of entertainment. Even the fashion world was not spared. In the concert, Jin wore exclusive outfits from personally selected young local Newark designers. South Korean media described the move as a symbol of Jin's solidarity with the local community, while American media described it as fashion diplomacy, a subtle strategy to reach the hearts of the U.S. public through an authentic cultural approach. The effect was amazing. The fashion label went viral instantly, and searches about the designer went up by 500% in one night. But, of course, the most talked about thing is not about fashion or stage choreography. What stole the attention was when Jin stepped off the stage and walked towards the audience barrier. He greeted the first row directly, even taking a hand letter from one of the young soldiers who was seen crying. The moment was caught on camera, and in just 2 hours, the video was trending #1 on Platform X and TikTok in 5 countries. From the management side, the events in Newark had direct consequences. HYB called for an internal evaluation of the potential addition of concert schedules in non-capital cities following the success of Newark. They realized that the demographics of the ARMY had shifted. It is no longer just urban teenagers, but a global community spread even in areas that were not previously the main target of the K-pop market. Not only that, the momentum in Newark is also fueling speculation that Jin will make the city a focal point in planning his next solo project. Some industry insiders have mentioned the possibility of a special collaboration between Jin and local Newark musicians, or even the launch of exclusive merchandise with designs inspired by the night. If true, this could be a form of formal recognition of Newark's impact on Jin's post-military career. One thing is certain: what happened in Newark was not accidental. It's an accumulation of patience, dedication, and emotional connection that can't be measured just by ticket sales numbers or trending topics. Newark shows that ARMY's love knows no geographical boundaries, and that Jin's sincerity manages to penetrate space and time to create moments that will be remembered throughout his career history. For those who witnessed firsthand that night, the word big is no longer enough to describe what happened. Newark isn't just bigger physically, it's bigger in love, in emotion, and in tangible proof that BTS's Jin has become more than just a superstar. It's a symbol of global emotional connectedness, and Newark is proof of that. And for those of you who want to keep up to date with BTS's Jin and other amazing moments from this tour, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Don't miss out on exclusive analysis, in-depth reports, and full documentation that you'll only find here. Because every second with the genie is part of the history that is being written today. The resonance of the monumental night in Newark did not stop at applause and cheers. The effect is contagious far beyond the walls of the Prudential Center. Within 24 hours of Jin's appearance on stage, global social media timelines were flooded with personal testimonials, independent journalist reviews, and responses from academics observing the dynamics of Korean pop culture in the United States. Newark became a topic of cross-disciplinary discussion as a city that managed to carve out an emotional chapter in the history of the relationship between Korean idols and their overseas fan communities. From a sociocultural perspective, Newark indirectly shows that the strength of the K-pop fanbase does not always have to be built in large metropolitan cities such as New York or Los Angeles. The genie phenomenon in Newark is proof that the power of the ARMY community, scattered, organized, and of collective emotional awareness, is capable of turning any geographic point into the center of the world's attention. They are not only present as spectators, but as active entities that move opinions, create narratives, and influence the strategy of the entertainment industry. The presence of Jin in a personal delivery and without a complicated stage scenario provides a significant plus. He performed in a calm but deep style, prioritizing inner closeness over mere visual performance. In one segment, he emphatically said, "I wouldn't be standing here without you guys. But more than that, I wouldn't feel like a full human being if I couldn't respond to your love." The sentence drew a spontaneous response from the audience, who shed tears again. There are no dramatic games. Only honest and touching two-way communication. In terms of production, the creative team that accompanied Jin admitted that the concert in Newark experienced a sudden increase in scale due to the demand that continued to increase until D-Day. Internal sources said that HYB had experienced logistical difficulties due to ticket demand beyond initial expectations. More than 120,000 requests were recorded for the capacity of the venue, which can only accommodate around 19,000 people. This reflects that Jin has an independent magnetic power, regardless of the big brand of BTS itself. In Newark, he was accepted as a unique person, not merely as part of a group. This effect does not only occur among the live audience. Statistical data shows that online searches for Jin Newark concert increased sharply by 700% within 12 hours. In addition, More than 30 international media outlets published special reports highlighting not only the concert, but also the atmosphere created. Many of them noted that the emotional connection between Jin and ARMY in Newark goes beyond the norms of interaction between artists and fans that are usually one-sided. Of course, this attention raises an important question at the industry level. Will concert models with an emotional, minimalist, and focused approach like Jin's will become a new trend in the post-military strategy of South Korean artists? Because if previous concerts in Dallas raised doubts due to Jungkook's absence and the atmosphere of the stage, which tends to be empty, then Newark gave the answer that the real strength lies not in the completeness of personnel or luxurious production, but in the depth of the relationship between artists and fans. Nevertheless, there were not a few critical voices who questioned whether the overwhelming welcome in Newark was solely due to a rare factor: the moment of Jin's return after a 2-year hiatus. That is, will the euphoria recur if concerts are performed regularly? This is where the uniqueness of the Jin lies. He seemed to understand perfectly well that every appearance should be treated with not excessive emotional awareness. He does not appear every week, does not flood the platform with daily content, and chooses silence on many occasions. This strategy, despite seeming passivity, actually strengthened his appeal as an exclusive but authentic public figure. In a closed-door interview after the concert, Jin reportedly expressed his desire to create a special project titled Letters from Newark that would contain personal notes, messages from fans, and moments that were not captured on camera during the concert. The project, if realized, would be a rare form of emotional documentation by K-pop artists, framing the city as an entity with a memory rather than just a performance location. Nor can we ignore that the Newark effect is a subject of reflection for ARMY globally. Many of them began to realize that their relationship with the Jin was not a superficial one. From the writings shared in online communities, a new narrative emerged that suggested that Jin's existence gave meaning to their daily lives, that he was not just a singer or performer, but a figure who taught about calmness, consistency, and appreciation for small moments. This phenomenon also opens up new opportunities for Korean music promotion approaches in the Western market. If earlier success was measured by Billboard rankings or collaborations with American artists, now Newark teaches that true success lies in the ability to create an irreplaceable collective memory. There were no billboards that night, no surprise collaborations, just a genie, a stage, and real love. Then it makes perfect sense when the Korean media refers to Newark as the awakening of the Sikjin spirit. Because what happened was not just a concert, but an affirmation of the existence of a person who has gone through a heavy personal transformation from a member of a global boy group to an adult man who chooses to be honest, silent, and touching. Newark not only accommodates, but amplifies that transformation with a love that cannot be measured. One thing is now certain. History has recorded that among all the cities Jin visited during his post-military period, Newark had a place of its own. It is not the center of the entertainment industry, but it has become an irreplaceable emotional center. And in a fast-moving global landscape, moments like these are a reminder that sincerity will always have room. For those of you who want to keep abreast of exclusive developments surrounding BTS's Jin concert, special coverage from the next cities, as well as in-depth analysis from behind the scenes of the K-pop industry, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Here, we not only present the news, but also the meaning behind the events. Because every step of the genie is part of the big story that we are witnessing together.